covering Western Georgia and East Alabama. This is News 3 Evening Edition.
13 years after small and hateful minds conspired to break us, America stands tall and America stands proud.
Years later, and the nation's scars are still visible.
But millions of Americans continue to come together to heal them.
All while taking time to remember the excruciating images and losses that united a country to stand together against evil and to stand up for our freedom.
Thank you for joining News 3 tonight in our remembrance of 9/11. I'm Teresa Whitaker.
And I'm Phil Scoggins. Here in the Valley, people of all ages also pause to remember the events of 9/11 on this 13th anniversary. News
3's Naomi Kitt shows us how the Chattahoochee Valley honored the men and women who lost their lives on that day.
Phil, Teresa, September 11th, 2001. 13 years later, the events of that day are still fresh in the minds of people across the valley, from Fort Benning to area schools. Here's how they remember 9/11.
It was a tragedy that nobody should have to face.
From the mouth of a 12-year-old who wasn't even born during the tragic event that shook our nation to the core, Demetria Floyd, along with dozens of other Baker Middle School students, released 75 balloons to remember the men and women who lost their lives 13 years ago.
Not focus on the bad, but show the good of how strong our nation has become since the attacks.
The balloon release was just one of the many 9/11 events across the valley. Students over at Brookstone School delivered baked goods like cookies and donuts to first responders in our area. The school has been doing this every 9/11 since 2002 to show their support for the men and women who work hard to protect us.
I just think it's important to acknowledge the sacrifices that all the people of our community and of our country are making for us.
Soldiers at Fort Benning spent time remembering fallen heroes and 9/11 victims at a wreath-laying ceremony.
It brought the nation closer. I think there was no racial divide, no color divide, no class divide, or any of those things, and it instilled a good sense of patriotism across all Americans.
This September 11th comes on the heels of terrorist group ISIS becoming more of a threat to the United States. President Obama laid out his plan to stop the group in an address last night. Live in the studio, Naomi Kitt, WRBL News 3, on your side.
All right, thank you, Naomi. In Manhattan this morning, each of the names now engraved on a memorial were read out loud.
They were mothers, fathers, aunts, and uncles.
I'm honored to read names today in honor of my uncle, John Robert Cruz, who was in the North Tower.
The tributes broken up by 6 moments of silence, one for each plane that crashed and one for each World Trade Center tower that fell.
In Washington, President Obama presented a wreath and delivered a speech during a special ceremony at the Pentagon.
Time that has brought us pain, but also taught us endurance and strength. A time of rebuilding, of resilience, and of renewal.
Hundreds also gathered in the Pennsylvania field where Flight 93 crashed after being taken down by heroic passengers who overtook terrorist hijackers to potentially save the lives of other Americans. Today, local veterans were honored in remembrance of 9/11.
News 3's Jesse Mitchell shows us how the community helped former and current soldiers in different ways. Jesse?
Phil and Teresa, it started this morning when local vets got a chance to explore job opportunities in the civilian world. With the Army downsizing and men and women coming home from overseas, they say it means a lot to have community support, especially on a day like today.
9/11 happened when I was a junior in high school, and after that I knew I wanted to join the military.
Past and present military members lined up outside the Goodwill Career Center at Cross Country Plaza to meet with employers. Industries like law enforcement and technology were prevalent at the fair, as recruiters say soldiers are the perfect candidates because of their combat skill sets.
Soldiers are ideal because they have all the things that we're looking for. They have the physical agility, they have the knowledge, they have the stamina to go through this program, which is really great.
As they return home from the war on terror, veterans say it's important to find new opportunities for themselves.
It really shows us how much the community supports the military as we're transitioning out. And it's good to know that there's plenty of jobs available once we leave the military.
Some use the day to help out veterans in a different way. House of Heroes volunteers did some repairs on retired Corporal Gerald Clark's home here in Columbus. U.S. Senate candidate Michelle Nunn chipped in on the project, putting her background in volunteerism to work.
It's a perfectly appropriate way to remember what unites us, especially on this day of 9/11, when we are called back to those common factors that really that give us common ground as Americans.
Nunn faces Republican opponent David Perdue in the November elections. As people around the country vowed to do good deeds to observe 9/11, the Clarks had difficulty expressing what the help means to them.
It's hard to explain. It's really great. And we appreciate every one of them.
Since 2001, hundreds of thousands of soldiers have served overseas fighting the war on terror. The Army is currently in the process of taking the force from 570,000 wartime troops down to 420,000 by 2020. Live in the studio, Jesse Mitchell, WRBL News 3, on your side.
Thank you, Jesse. Fort Benning is facing 10,800 job cuts in the latest proposal.
To the weather now, and the heat and humidity pretty uncomfortable out there today.
Chief Meteorologist Bob Jeswald is watching the mercury for us.
It's back. That's right, the humidity, and you know there's a change to follow whenever you have the humidity back up. That's the fuel. It'll trigger off some showers and storms that are happening out there. It's feeling rather uncomfortable, at least it has the last couple of hours now, seeing those dew points down into the upper 60s. Still feeling uncomfortable, the sticky out there. We even have high pollen for the pig and the weed pollen out there and the mold spores, so you got a lot going on. A little rain probably would feel good, but not for Friday Night Football. We'll get to that in just a bit, but storms remain farther north and north of Interstate 20. Here's a front that's meandering. We're going to watch the progress of it, and you can see certainly riding parallel to the front, even as far south as a couple hundred miles. We are seeing the eruption of showers and storms starting to develop. So that'll be the rule of thumb as it sags farther south, tracking it for you hour by hour coming up. But the storms that are firing up here today across northern Alabama and Georgia, they're not very intense. You know, they're just bringing in nice welcome relief. There is some lightning with it, but then it just seems to fall apart. So coming up in your first alert forecast tracker models, stay with us. We'll track it for you hour by hour. Teresa.
All right, thanks, Bob. Authorities in Chambers County say they are working hard to crack down on meth. News 3's Sarah Panko found out how new state laws have helped shut down meth labs in the county. Sarah joins us now.
Teresa, 2 years ago, Alabama passed some of the strongest and most comprehensive laws against meth in the nation. Members of the Chambers County Drug Task Force say before the laws were passed, they made over 120 meth-related arrests and shut down 88 meth labs. This year, authorities say they have only arrested 13 people and have found only 1 meth lab. Alabama also became the first state to launch an anti-smurfing campaign. Smurfing is a term used when a person buys pseudoephedrine or PSE products and then sells them to someone who they know will make meth with it. You can't have meth without pseudoephedrine, and a new reporting system used across the nation now tracks the sale of it and limits the amount you can buy.
Reduce the amount of pseudoephedrine they can purchase from unlimited back in the day to 9 grams whenever that law came into effect, and Alabama went further and reduced it to 7.5 grams in a 30-day period.
6 o'clock.
With the new law, PSE can only be sold by a licensed pharmacist, and in Alabama, smurfing is now a felony. Authorities say last year, Chambers and surrounding counties blocked over 1,000 sales or 2,700 grams of pseudoephedrine that could have been used to make meth. Live in the studio, Sarah Panko, WRBL News 3 on your side.
All right, thank you, Sarah. Authorities also say because there aren't as many meth labs they have to investigate and clean up, they're able to save taxpayers money.
A Phoenix City man is now facing attempted murder charges after police say he opened fire on their officers. Police responded to reports of a disorderly person on 43rd Avenue Wednesday around 9 p.m. Police say officers pulled up to the home and 34-year-old Derek Troja began firing his gun at them from the driveway. The suspect then ran inside the home while officers secured the scene. Police say Troja was arrested after a 3-hour standoff. No one was hurt.
A car crash in Union Springs has claimed the life of a 62-year-old man while another driver involved is still on the loose after fleeing the scene. The crash happened around 8:30 last night on Highway 223, about 4 miles south of Union Springs. Officials say John Jenkins was killed when his Suzuki motorcycle hit a pedestrian and crashed, and then Jenkins was hit by a passing vehicle. The person driving the vehicle left the scene and has not been located since. The pedestrian was taken to the hospital and is expected to be okay.
A commuter alert tonight. Those who travel on Forest Road may want to reconsider their route. Norfolk Southern Railroad closed the Forest Road grade crossing yesterday and today for maintenance. Detours are set up along Reese Road, Lemoore Street, and Lemoore Drive. A signed detour route was also added to help redirect traffic. Officials say rails are being replaced and barricades are being placed at that crossing.
Columbus may soon be revamping their Metra transit bus systems. City officials held an open house meeting this afternoon to get input and present information on future plans. An Atlanta transportation consulting group came in at the end of the last year to assess the current transit system. The bus routes are expected to be rerouted. Routes have not changed since the transit system began in 1978. A third shift night owl service is also being considered. News 3's David Hurst is at that meeting. He'll give you everything you need to know in a full report tonight at 11:10 Central on the Night Watch.
Still ahead on Evening Edition, millions of Gmail passwords have been compromised. We're on your side with steps to make you more secure in your email address.
And we're taking a look ahead to tonight's NFL kickoff game tonight on CBS, pitting the Pittsburgh Steelers against the scandal-plagued Baltimore Ravens.
And here we are with the latest First Alert forecast tracker models. We're going to show you the latest and kind of paint a picture for you so you can plan ahead. It's coming up in full weather. Stay with us.
A truck recall to tell you about tonight. Toyota is recalling about 130,000 Tundra full-size pickup trucks because a plastic trim piece could interfere with side airbags. The recall affects Crew Max and double cab versions in the U.S., Mexico, and Canada from the 2014 model. No crashes or injuries have been reported. Toyota says dealers will inspect and replace the trim if necessary.
5 million Gmail addresses and passwords appeared on a Russian Bitcoin forum today. However, Google says its servers were not breached. The list appears to be a collection of passwords exposed in previous hacks, likely on users' computers. Google says there's no telling if the list is even authentic, but they are warning affected users to take steps to protect their Gmail accounts. These steps include creating stronger passwords and using two-step authentication.
Football fans are getting pumped up in Baltimore.
The Steelers and the Ravens face off in a big divisional showdown that kicks off the new Thursday night football lineup on CBS tonight. Megan Alexander has the latest from Baltimore.
Some football fans arrived early to get the food on the grill.
Got to have the standard burgers, hot dogs, sausages. We got some steaks.
Luis Jimenez came all the way from Los Angeles.
Looking forward to tonight's game. Beat those pesky Steelers.
Roy Long lives in Baltimore but loves the Steelers.
I'm excited. We can go 2-0 and they can go 0-2. It'll be a big step for us.
While CBS Sports and the NFL Network are promising Thursday night football will be bigger and better than ever, the still unfolding Ray Rice scandal hangs over tonight's game. The NFL suspended the former Ravens star indefinitely after video surfaced of him knocking out his future wife in a hotel elevator.
Seems like a guy that's made a bad decision that's obviously really affected his life moving forward.
I support him all the way. I wish I could give him a big hug.
CBS Sports announcer James Brown told us the controversy is a part of life and should not overshadow tonight's game.
Ravens!
There are plenty of Ravens and Steelers fans who agree. Megan Alexander for CBS News, Baltimore.
And a familiar face from Columbus will be suiting up for the Steelers tonight. Former Carver High School and UGA linebacker Jarvis Jones.
He is starting his second season in the NFL and, of course, with the Pittsburgh Steelers.
All right, back to the weather now. What are our chances of rain looking like for tomorrow?
Okay, so stay with us. Football, it never fails. But we're gonna manage around it the best we can. We take it seriously with lightning, and we'll be able to get through, as you know. 90 degrees, well, it's actually 92 is our high so far today. We'll be back right after this.
Now, News 3 brings you your first alert forecast.
And not even looking at any potential of any showers tonight. We're looking good for some high school games. It's coming up in sports in a bit with Jonathan Husky. But 90 degrees out there, and the winds are west-southwest and light. See, that southwest wind, when that air travels over landmass even more, it does heat up. So that's why temperatures do feel warmer out there. And in fact, we're getting a nice humid air mass lifting in from the south, too. So that cooler northeast or easterly flow we had this week, goodbye. Okay, we're back to reality. First alert forecast tracker. We showed you a little bit before the break, but let's talk about it in motion here. So we look at current time. As we track ahead in time in the overnight, you could see clouds mainly across northern Alabama and Georgia, even the northern part of our viewing area. But if there's any rain chances, they're coming in by tomorrow afternoon. Now, you look at this, now the latest model update showing it more scattered. I'm going isolated, but again, this depicts equal areas of a pop-up shower storm, frankly. So Friday night football definitely being impacted in some degree. There will be some lightning in and around a game somewhere, okay? Doesn't mean everybody will have it, but we're going to keep an eye on it. And late in the night, too, we could be seeing some of those storms kind of that build falling apart and kind of rebuilding going to the south. So something to watch. So we're kind of back in that pattern again. So by Saturday afternoon, it stalls out the front. Okay, so you say, well, what's the big deal? Well, we're good here early part of the day, early afternoon, and boom, right in the afternoon again, firing up once again. Showers and storms building ahead of the front that's stationary. If only we can get to that northwest side of that. That's what makes this forecast very interesting for the First Alert Weather Team. We're using our expertise the best we can. We have to acknowledge the fact as long as this front's here, we have to keep it unsettled right through the weekend, unfortunately. Now, come Sunday, it does show, this model shows it clearing to the north to south. Okay. Is that really the case? Other models are not showing the same. But as you can see, though, we will be talking about the ramp up of showers, at least in the short-term forecast. What are we talking about long-term? Let's get right into it. Start with this. In your first alert forecast in the overnight, humid and warm and partly cloudy. You'll notice a big difference when you wake up tomorrow on your Friday morning, 74. We'll have more clouds, but then we'll have breaks of sun, and you'll notice how warm and humid it becomes. And you'll have the heat index value going right back into the upper 90s again. So that'll be a factor, but again, our football teams know how to handle that. Midday, clouds start to look like they're building, getting darker, 87, 93. We'll top off in isolated showers and thunderstorms popping up for Friday afternoon and Friday night football. Ugh, I hate saying this, but we were talking about all week. Scattered through the weekend because I think the front will be right over us. I think they'll be more widespread, and as a result, temperatures will cool, you see. They'll be in the upper 80s. Now, the question is this. Meteorologist Kurt Schmitz, Dave Reese, and myself will be watching this closely, especially this weekend. If it clears, we may potentially get out of this by Sunday, but right now, I'm going to err on the side of caution even Monday with isolated showers, so stay with us.
All right, Bob, thanks a lot. All right, Sports Director Jonathan Husky joining us now. Georgia turning down the volume as they prepare for South Carolina.
Making things difficult.
Yeah, as if playing in the SEC wasn't hard enough already, right? We just got to make it tougher. Hear what I mean coming up, but you're going to have to listen real close. Plus, time for our Headquarter Nissan Athletes of the Week. This week's winners have a week off before region play. That story next in 3 on Your Side Sports.
Time for News 3 Sports.
I believe it was the Kenny Wayne Shepherd Band that said whisper on a scream doesn't change a thing. For the Georgia Bulldogs, they hope that isn't the case. Quarterback Hudson Mason has been calling signals in a whisper in practice this week to prepare for the noise at Williams-Brice Stadium. That's just another layer that makes this early season matchup so tough.
Kind of stinks early on in the season, and the same was for Clemson. We didn't really know who was going to be in their secondary. We have a pretty good idea who's going to be in the secondary for South Carolina. We just don't really know where they're going to be, but that's more on us. We can't really lose sleep over that.
For whatever reason, we just have not had our best offensive performances there, and South Carolina's gotten the best of us.
Don't forget Georgia, South Carolina right here on News 3 Saturday kickoff at 3:30. The Brookstone Cougars are 2-0 early in the season with their first region game coming up a week from tomorrow. As Carlos Williams shows us, that's just one of the reasons the Cougars are this week's Headquarter Nissan Athletes of the Week.
Well, Brookstone started the season in grand fashion by beating powerful Mount Pisgah 42-34. And last Friday night, the Cougars kept their streak going by outlasting a talented Columbus High team by a score of 23-14.
We've done a good job. Anytime you start 2-0, you feel like you have done a lot of good things, but there's still a lot we need to work on, and we know where we got to get as a team, and so we've been working hard the last couple of weeks to kind of push ourselves to even be better than what we've kind of put on the field lately.
And Coach Diem expects his seniors like Philip Hamrick and Grant Davison to continue to be team leaders.
We're doing pretty good. I think I'm proud of my teammates, so how far we've come.
I think we obviously have potential to go pretty far. I think as long as we can eliminate mistakes and just play our job and just take it game by game, not worry about future games, just take it week by week, day by day, then I think we'll be pretty good.
Now the non-region schedule for Brookstone is over as the Cougars get set to put their undefeated record on the line September 19th against the Hawkinsville Red Devils.
Yeah, state semifinalists last year, great defense, and they're 2-0 as well. Really had a good start to their season. David Daniel does a great job over there, really well coached. So it'll be a challenge here, but it's our home opener, so we're excited to be in front of our crowd for the first time here at the stadium, and we're looking forward to the challenge.
And so we say good luck and congratulations to the Brookstone Cougars, our headquarter Nissan Athletes of the Week. At Brookstone High School, I'm Carlos Williams reporting for News 3 Sports on your side.
All right, thank you, Carlos. Coach Dean does a great job out there with Brookstone. Now, they're playing the 19th. We can't forget, though, this Friday, tomorrow.
Yeah.
We got some good games. Smith Station, Prattville's our tailgate game, and we are all over the place. It's going to be a good one.
All right. Thanks so much, Jonathan.
Yep.
All right, stay with us.
Coming right back.
Lobster bites are back at Captain D's. Try them in our delicious fish and lobster.
Quarter Nissan Athletes of the Week. At Brookstone High School, I'm Carlos Williams reporting for News 3 Sports on your side.
All right, thank you, Carlos. Coach Dean does a great job out there with Brookstone. Now, they're playing the 19th. We can't forget, though, this Friday, tomorrow.
Yeah.
We got some good games. Smith Station, Prattville's our tailgate game, and we are all over the place. It's going to be a good one.
All right. Thanks so much, Jonathan.
Yep.
All right, stay with us.
Coming right back.